Okay, let's go ahead and get started on how to filter, or at least some of my suggestions on how you might go about filtering Upwork clients when you're finding projects to save yourself a lot of frustrations and headaches. There are a few basic principles. Well, first off, let me go ahead and tell you this is an RSS feed. This is something that I have set up with all the different Upwork projects, jobs, different things that I'm keeping an eye on. I covered all that in another video, so I do recommend that you get an RSS feed. You'll have more control over how you view information, how you organize your information, and clearly use it and see if you can get through it faster than having to use the Upwork method of doing it. And there are a lot of benefits to it, so I would recommend that. So the basic principles of filtering these people is to take whatever information we have and be able to say, are there any glaring reasons why I should not work with this person, or this person, based on certain factors, are they likely to hire me? And those are some overriding things that to consider as you're doing this. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Influence your answers and questions. I'm not interested in that. Website builder, I don't know what that means. Builder, I think they mean a developer. So whenever you get to information, and these are on the Upwork feeds as well. So this kind of information, this same type of information, and you'll see that here momentarily. So website builder, I'm looking for a web designer to design a website in Shopify or standalone. So this person, you're already seeing that they're looking for a designer. I'm not a designer, I'm a developer, but I'm going to try to, again, just use this as an example for you. This person doesn't really know what they're doing. First, they said website builder that they're looking for. And then they're asking for designer for Shopify or standalone. You'll show all outlines, and we'll show you all outlines. I don't even really know what that means. Be ready to work and do the project. Must be prompt in communicating and meeting deadlines. Must be. Okay, so I'm already getting a sense for this person. So whatever this content is, my goal whenever I read this content is, one, do they provide detail, or is it just some kind of open-ended general thing that you have no idea what they're talking about specifically? And in my profession, and I think in most professions, what I've found over time is that it's the details that make someone good at what they do versus not so good. And the details and the things that you recognize in those details, it takes time to get that way. It takes experience to get very detailed in your industry. So the details are important. Now, of course, they're hiring you because you know the details. So in all cases, of course, I'm not looking for so much detail where they're trying to just beat me up with all the things that they know. That kind of client I don't want either. I want someone who's mutually respectful and reciprocating. And what that means is they respect that you do your job, but they also have enough smarts to know that it's important to define the scope of the work and to provide a reasonable amount of detail. If you don't, the scope of the work is open. So number one rule, look for details. If you don't find the details in the job description, you can open up, and I always recommend that you, no matter what, you don't accept a job until you open up a conversation anyway. So you can get a conversation starter, but I promise you, please recognize that getting into the details is very important, because there are people on Upwork who will do it on purpose. I hate to say that, but I just know people do. They'll open up a ticket, or they'll open up a project, and they'll leave it open-ended, and they'll expect someone to keep, and they'll put a fixed price on it, and they'll make it sound like it's going to be really easy, and they keep adding stuff that's called scope creep, because the scope of the work is not clearly defined, and they just keep doing it and taking advantage of people. Then if you don't do it, then what happens? They come back and they give you a poor review, which is a whole other video that I'd like to do on that, and how important I think the reviews are, the review section and your job success rate. Not necessarily how many tests you've passed, although some clients may think that's important. FYI, there are many people who cheat on the tests on Upwork, so I don't think that they're worth much at all. I've heard it over and over how you can grab the exams and you can take them out there. I'm not interested in that. And oftentimes these exams do not even come close to showing real-world practical applications and the ability to do those things. So they're not a great factor for me. But the job success rate is, because that's proven kinds of things, and of course the reviews. So these people that So that's my little digression. So the people that do have give these open-ended ones and take advantage of people, turn around and give you bad review, and then your success rate goes down, and of course that's going to affect you later on down the road, and that's just not good, right? So you want to identify and filter out the clients who are reasonable human beings, people who have enough experience to realize that the details are important. And if they don't know those kinds of things, that when you bring that issue forth in communication, you say, listen, the devil's in the details. And I literally say that. And I'll start communications with people sometimes. If I don't see any other red flags, I'll start a communication. I always start pretty much asking questions and see what their reactions are. There are times after that point that I've just said, thanks, I'm not interested, and walk away. So if you're in... There's a lot to cover, and I'd love to be able to cover it all, but I'd have to break it into different segments and different videos. But for our purposes here, if they don't define the scope, it just shows you that there is a possibility for scope creep, or that you will continue to do the project. Now, if it's an hourly project, hey, that may be different. I don't care for hourly projects as much as I do fixed costs, and there are reasons for that. But so be careful, please, because I think even with an hourly rate, you definitely want to get into the details, because if you don't get into the details, the client brings up something and you're doing an hourly rate, then they bring up this other thing. Next thing you know, they're bringing up things that may be outside your abilities. They may be something that stretches you too far, and they don't realize that because they don't do that for a living. They don't know that it really is a job for someone. But there are things you may find that disappointment arises in these people because there aren't these clearly defined expectations that have been provided. And that's really what it does. It provides a clear set of expectations and goals, and then you can meet those goals. And when you do, as you said you would, there is absolutely no reason for them not to love the work and not to give you a good review. Does that mean it's possible that they won't? Does it mean that they won't? No, but in all probability they won't. I have 100% success. I don't need to. If you want me to show you, I'll show you. But I have a 100% job success rate, and it's because I filter my clients. And I really do make that my priority over finding the work. Now, in the beginning, I'll have to admit, if you're just starting out, you might have to start out low and not ask for a lot of money. And I think it's a competitive marketplace anyway. And the key is to get good clients that'll continue to come back to you. I think that's the key. So, again, a lot to discuss, but looking at this, make sure that there's a clearly definable expectations by the time you accept that project. Look for some of them from the very beginning, like in this job description. It will tell you a lot about a person. This person to me is a turnoff already, okay? They didn't define really anything. They didn't capitalize their sentence, which is fine. That sometimes actual programmers do that a lot. I'm looking for a web designer to design a website. So, of course, a designer would design. It seems kind of silly. To design a website in Shopify or standalone will show you all outlines. I don't know what that means again. Shows you, but then I get this whole feeling that this person is overly demanding. Must be ready to work and do the project. Must be prompt in communicating and meet deadlines. Must be knowledgeable in web mobile programming. And then poor English again. This person's in the United States, as we can see right here as well. It's kind of interesting, right? If you're serious, send me your Skype name and phone number. If I'm not serious, dude, I'm not here. This person is patronizing. This person has been burned maybe, and they're being patronizing for a reason. I don't know. To me, there's no good reason this person exemplifies behaviors that I don't care for. So if you're good at reading between the lines, you don't need to go any further from this than this to know that this person, and they've got a budget here, right? They think that the work is worth $175, and we have yet to define a single bit of actual work that needs to be done. We have this all these demands, and they are demands. Must. You must be this, you must be that, and if you're serious, contact me. Dude, you haven't said anything that I'm actually going to do specifically, have you? I mean, this is not a reasonable person to me. This is not a person who understands the hiring process, or this is a person who goes through the volume and just, to me, it's not a person that I want to work with. Let's just put it that way. But let's say you didn't pick that up right off the bat, right? Let's go ahead and look at in principle. Okay, let's go ahead and look at look at some of the history and things and find meaningful information for this person. First off, they're looking for freelancers. That's interesting, right? I didn't know that on this project. They're in Brooklyn. That's fine. Maybe that's what kind of a tough attitude, huh? But they got the expert levels, what they want, and they're looking for. They've got a start date. Good. I think that's today, interestingly enough. But here are a few pieces of information. As you get to this page and you go look at the project, and you've gotten past this point, and it's not huge red flags. We're pretending right now because to me there are already. You can already see this person has 4 reviews, so look at them. Typically, I don't find this as meaningful, but at 4 reviews, it's already starting to confirm my notions of this person, and they've got 14 projects apparently. And then here's the fun part, okay? Or 14 reviews, I'm sorry. Here's the fun part, right? This person is at 50% higher rate. Okay, so let's just say this right now. It's just confirming this person doesn't care about other people's time, or you must be serious. Typically, when I see people who are demanding in some ways, they're projections of things that they're not. I honestly do. I find that often, and I have a background in psychology, so I look for all these kinds of things and try to find these interesting psychological factors. So it's relatively easy for me because of my training background and interests. To read between the lines whenever I read something, a dialogue that someone places out there. But it's called a projection. And this person's all serious, right? But yet 50% of the time, that means on a flip of a coin, he's either going to hire someone or not hire someone for this project. So right off the bat, no matter who comes here who submits a proposal for their project, there's only a 50% chance this guy's going to hire someone. That's a flip of a coin. You're already at 50%. Okay, to me, that's not good odds. That's another reason to walk, although, again, very indicative things here already. So this person is not respectful, in my opinion, because they waste people's time half the time they come out here. Then, interestingly enough, here's the part that I also would have told you, is they're not respectful, right? They've got 34 hires. At 34 hires, if I've hired someone 34 times, what does that break down to in only spending $1,400? Well, I can tell you that's not a lot of money, right? Should I break out my calculator and we can find out? Let me see, where's my little function button in calculator? There we go. We'll open up the calculator and we'll plop in some of those numbers. But I think you get the point overall, right? So 1462 divided by 34, right? So what are we at? We're at $43. Each time this one comes out here to get someone to do something for them, they spend $43. And let me tell you, in the business world, spending $43 every time you need a specialized task done that you can't do yourself is pretty darn cheap. Okay, but so look at these things. Look at the hire rate. Look at the information on this side. Okay, ongoing project. These kinds of things I actually don't look for. They're already filtered for me, right? I already filtered them at the RSS level for WordPress, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so look over here and you can see about the client. You want to see what other people have thought of the client. 4 out of 5 stars is not that good, or 3.93 is not that good. The job hire rate sucks. Okay, 50%. I'm looking for someone who hires 70+% of the time. Those are people I think that are they know what they want a little bit more, and they're willing to find the people. But continue on and see how much they spend overall on a person. That's going to give you a big one. $20 an hour. Now, I'm not sure what type of work necessarily the person has hired for in the past, because it may not just be web development. If it was for web development, I would automatically just get rid of this person, because the rates need to be a lot higher than $20 an hour for that, for this type of work. But I don't know that they only hired for a web developer. So I can go down, and here's where the next meaningful information is for me. But before we do, I don't want to skip this, okay? Let's go ahead and go to this one. I don't look at this as often as maybe I should, or I just don't find it as useful as the pieces of information that I'm sharing with you and how I translate these things or find them meaningful. The pre-qualifications I don't really look at often. Sometimes there might be a little X here, and that will tell me later, like, I'm not bilingual. And then it's like, so that might might help you. So you might take a peek at these qualifications. Some people want an excessive amount of hours, but I'm not an hourly mentality type of person, and I don't have a ton of hours anyway. I do mostly fixed projects because I want to know what's going on from the very beginning. I want to have clearly defined scope and boundaries. I want to set an expectation as to what I need to do for you, and then meet those expectations, and this is the amount of money I expect in return. So I like fixed, and I recommend you can turn a person who's going to hire hourly over to fixed if you don't find the other reasons why not to. Okay, so look through your preferred qualifications if you want to. Oftentimes I just don't. This bid range here, if you have a free account, it won't be there. I can tell you this, though, at least in my profession, and I would imagine for most things on Upwork, don't worry about this information. If it's someone that you're competing against who lives in China or in India, look, their standard of living, their cost of living, it is. If all else were equal, you could bid in the range and you could be competitive in terms of in terms of dollars there. But it's just not a reality. That's an illusion. The people in China can clearly get away with doing $5 an hour versus $50 an hour, and they can live the same lifestyle that you live here in a sense, or that money will go the same distance. Or actually further, right? In practical terms, the same, but in absolute, an absolute amount, that $5 is like having $50. So you just can't compete. Don't let this bid range scare you or fool you. It's ridiculous. If you do have a paid-for account, and I do have a paid-for account, just by the way, and it's only because I like to hoard available connects, or at least I used to. I should probably get rid of that now because I don't come out here often enough to use all the connects anyway. But I don't care about $10 a month, and that's me. So anyway, you can look at that. I wouldn't give it a lot of weight, though, the bid range. Interviewing, yeah, sometimes that's important. Sometimes I'll factor that in. I mean, this person's already talking to 2 other people. I don't know that... I don't know how those conversations started or anything else. Oftentimes, if I glance at this and they're interviewing a bunch of people, I'm not going to waste my time. But I don't find that as meaningful, and I prefer that would be the very last part that I look at. So these things I don't look at as quickly as filtering through this primary information up here, right? I want to know the details. I want to know if their history. And then when I see their history, great. I don't see any red flags in the history, then I can move forward. So I'm really looking at the past, and then I'm moving into the present and hoping for the future. Or planning really for the future, which could be another video on how to go all the way through the job process, and then at the very end how we actually either part ways or we continue working off of Upwork, so Upwork doesn't get 20% at least of the first $500 of your project, your budget, the budgeted amount or the project amount, which is an obscene amount of money. Because by the time you pay your 20% at Upwork and you pay another 30% to the government here in the United States, you're only getting 50% of what's there, and that's just ridiculous. That's becoming a little excessive. Of that, half of what you make is gone. At least up to the first $500, and then up to $1,000, and then after $1,000. It goes 10% up to $10,000, which is 10% is still to me obscene. These people are getting a percentage cut based on the same types of processes that are used, no matter what the project amount is. That means if I have a $100 project, right, and I do. And I go back and forth with this person. And I've done this. I've had a project for less than about $100 or less than $100, and I've had more conversation than I have for a project that was worth over $1,000. And so the actual processes that Upwork is doing for you, the content doesn't matter one iota for the most part. If the content is content, and that's how IT people definitely see these things, right? We're information processors. We process the information, and that's all they're doing for us here, regardless of if it's a $1,000 job, $10,000 job, or a $5 job. And yet they're getting a percentage cut. It is completely unreasonable to me to do that. There is no more or less responsibility based on project amount, but they're going to make more percentage out of it. To me, it should be clearly a flat rate. Or maybe some type of better sliding scheme that they have now, because 10% is excessive to me. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll get back to this. Sorry about that. That's my rant. So I look at the past, the present, the future, and in the past we can see that this person has 3.95. Again, 50%, flip of a coin, time to run already. Again, type to run already here when I read this. Then the total spent per job, they don't spend squat. $20, I don't know where they spend that $20. If it's all for web programmers or programmers, then forget about it. But we're going to go and find out, and here's where I glean a lot of information, and a lot of times you can run from this. Once I get down to here and I've gone through this, I might pop back over here and see how many people they're interviewing, but let me tell you, this little dude here, if you get down to this part, this can definitely make or break someone. First and foremost, I will say this. If they do not leave feedback for someone, don't go with them. Or if they don't, more often, and if they're not 95% of the time giving 5 stars, don't work with them. Okay, because if they've done their job right and they've filtered their people right on the front side, then they shouldn't have as many bad experiences. And they might be the kind of person that'll never give 5 stars anyway. If they're that kind of person, forget about it. Move on. Find someone who's going to be happy about the work. They've done their job in choosing the right people. They've set expectations. Expectations have been met, and they give 5 stars. You know, and this goes to the success rate, right? You want to have 5 stars and a 100% success rate. It's very important as you go toward the future. Very important. So if you find that this person does not give 5 stars across the board, look at this guy. He doesn't. He doesn't. Nothing here, and I'm assuming it's a he. It definitely talks like a he. So right here, no feedback given. That means, believe it or not, on Upwork, if you don't get feedback, they actually dock you success points. I found that out the hard way a little over a year ago, I guess. All of a sudden, I was like, wait a minute, I've completed all of my projects successfully, and why do I have a 98% job success rate when I just had 100%? Well, I emailed them and found out that because someone did not leave feedback. So feedback is imperative. Of course, that's an unreasonable expectation, right? We all can reason through that, I think. As adults, we can realize that Upwork's just taking advantage and leveraging their power here. A client should not, in no way, have to go and help Upwork by leaving feedback for a freelancer. A client should come in here. We've already paid them enough money, Upwork. We don't need to do a service for them by promoting or giving feedback. And that's all it does. It helps Upwork because then folks can go, oh, well, Upwork will show you the history and feedback from all the clients. Well, a client gets busy, they paid their fee, they move on. They don't need to write a review. They don't need to help the rest of the world do that. I get it. Hey, it'd be nice maybe. We can get into idealism. That's fantastic. But the truth is people are busy and sometimes clients forget. So you have to always get feedback from the client if you want to maintain a 100% job success rate because Upwork otherwise will dock you. So if they do not leave 5 stars or if they do not leave feedback at all, just get away from them. Walk away. I don't care if everything else looks flowery and colorful and beautiful and you find absolutely no other reason to reject them. I put this on that kind of weight. Most definitely. This person, no. Here, look, 4 stars, 2.5, 3 stars, some 5 stars down to a 4 stars. We'll open it up again, 1 star. This person's flaky, and I bet you it's because they suck at hiring, right? So they get the wrong people anyway. But this person, you definitely run from this. What's the other number one reason when you look at this to look for? And typically it'll be reflected in this rate right here, the hourly rate. And sometimes the overall rate, right? But you actually have to do math that way, right? Who wants to do math? But but if you look here and you see that it's $6 an hour, no, you walk away because what you'll find is when you jump down to the history is that this person is not an American, this person's 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 not an American, and this person is not an American. Sarah Williams, maybe, I don't know, sure does sound like an American. This is definitely not an American. Now, what I've done is I've actually clicked all of those. So we're just going to double check in one moment. But let me say this, right? When I get to this point and I find out that, one, I already know that this person's only going to hire 50% of the time, let me ask you a silly question. Is this person going to hire an American? The answer is, in all probability, and we know in the hiring that the person has done, that they haven't hired a single American, or at least in the past several things. Let's take a look at this first one with Lindsay Blakely, because Lindsay might be an American. And yes, okay, so that's illustrating. So that's one American, right? So let's go to the next person. No, Sri Lanka. Right here, I'm looking right here. Okay, no, Sri Lanka. I can tell you the rest of them are not Americans. Okay, no, the Philippines. No, we've got India. No, we've got Pakistan. No, we've got India. No, we've got India. Okay, and Pakistan. So let me tell you, there is absolutely no way you should take any of your time and continue with this one bit. Now, again, I would have found from the very beginning, I didn't care for this person. They were demanding. With all these musts, and yet they haven't given me a damn thing to go on. They just want to show how cool they are. Is how I felt about it. You know, it's like you must do. And now again, if they've been burned, hey, fine. But there's a nicer way to go about that. And oftentimes this language will be significant. Again, you don't have to be a psychology person to figure it out. Just go one step further. Look here. Go over to see what other people have said about the client. See where they're located. I would only recommend U.S. and Canada for many reasons. That's a whole nother video probably. Definitely look at the job hire rate, see if you're wasting your time, and then see what kind of people they hire, what kind of money they typically spend, and definitely look at these reviews. So in principle, that's what you do. Those are the primary principles that I would say. So let's go ahead and do this. We already know, so forget about it, that guy. Right, we don't like that guy. Okay, so we got a bootstrap JS front-end developer with great PHP skills. Oftentimes when I see people say great or excellent or perfect, these kinds of words I just get away from. I think that great is subjective. I think, these things are saying there's this whole, qualitative realm, and that might be fine. But what one person thinks is great and perfect and excellent, I find the other person doesn't. So I don't care that's not a job description to me, a great this, and I oftentimes walk away from experts because it's really hard to claim in my industry that you're an expert because there's so much to learn constantly. It is not the easiest of professions to keep up with because there's so many things coming and going all the time. Although your fundamentals remain the same, that's definitely important. You can't keep up with it all. So I kind of get away from people who have this kind of flair, this dramatic thing going, because it's hard to define great. And then you may, if you get into a person who's overly subjective like that, I think it's going to reflect in what their expectations are. They're not getting clear expectations across. Let's keep going though. I'm looking for a front-end developer that is great with Bootstrap and JS development to help complete an application. You must have excellent. There we go. See, we're getting in all these nice. This person should have been an English major, I should say. But this person is great at creative writing, right? And they have some technical stuff here. I don't know, but excellent. I mean, how do you define that? Most of the work to start will be fixing existing bugs in what is currently developed. Once the application is functional and launched, so we will then go into additional features and updates. So far, we have this general description, right? We have no specifics. For this project, we'll work. The work will last about 3 to 4 weeks full time. This is an hourly project because I don't see a fixed rate around here. Your responsibilities will be to get bugs in the application fixed and possibly adding some small tweaks and features. So this is one of those things where that's fine. If you're okay with hourly, there's nothing I can eliminate. Now, if they had a budget and I started reading this and there was all the work that they wanted didn't fit the budget, I don't need to go to the Upwork site, right? And to look at the things more closely, because I know that the work doesn't match the budget. And so another good reason to consolidate your feeds, because it's not as easy to sort through the Upwork feeds in the same manner. So this is an hourly project. Again, I wouldn't go for something like this anyway unless we converted it into specifically divine things and I could do a fixed cost on it. But once we have the point where we can start the testing, we will continue on with our two provisions here. It's interesting. On with enhancements and issues that come up during beta. This should be good front-end development of PHP. You should also be versed in blah, 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 DOM manipulation experience. And that's all cool. And for the most part, it's all cool, right? Let's go ahead and go over to the project real fast, and we can see immediately I'm going to say no. You want to know how I did that so quickly? Okay. I will say this, right? I did it very quickly. Look, they've got a great rating, right? This is why I would say no immediately. Now, again, I don't know what kind of projects that they've hired for in the past, but I can almost assure you right now they don't hire Americans. Yeah. You can literally get that much when you've done this enough. And check it out for yourself. I never expect anyone to believe me just because I've said something. Never. Always try it out for yourself, see if it's true, and then see if these principles help you. I really hope they do help you. Because it can be frustrating if you don't use these pieces of information. You get in bed with these folks, and then they turn on you, and they're like, it's like a horror movie or something. So it's like 11:23. No way, I don't. Another thing is, I don't like a lot of people who do this, especially one, do you have any questions about the job description? That's ridiculous. Of course I have questions. Do I have questions about the job description? No, you just said you need a developer. To me, almost, all they said, I need a developer for the next 3 to 4 weeks. That's it, because all of those things are so generalized that I'm going to have way more questions than this. Do I have any questions about you need a developer for the next 3 or 4 weeks? No, I don't have any questions about that. What is the challenging part of the job you're most experienced in? What are you talking about? How can I get anything about this as challenging? You haven't told me anything. You just basically, these are what developers do, okay? This is what a developer does. So, I again, just very general stuff. This person, there's nothing for me to, I don't find that this is going to, I guess I could go, my Ajax could use a little bit of, no one's going to do that. Okay. I mean, it's kind of silly. What part of the project most appeals to you? I have no idea, because the devil's in the details. I have no idea. I mean, this could be a sex slave site. Right? So none of it appeals to me. So I don't know squat about the project. It's a ridiculous, unreasonable question to ask. Cookie cutter, if anything, right? What is the past project or job that you liked, that you had was most like this one, and why, whatever. What is the required job skills do you feel are strongest at? This is it's fine. Maybe they want to turn it into a job interview, and that's I appreciate that. But if they get into the details, they'll find that it'll weed out those people anyway. You get into what is it that you need right now for someone to help you, and that's important. Now, because they want someone for 3 to 4 weeks, it might be kind of a job interview. It could be kind of a job interview, but it's a temporary interview. And so if you get into the details and you ask, are you qualified? Can you do this, and this? A person says no, then you move on. But those are the details that you need, right? Not general things. Because within jQuery, there are a lot of different skill levels. Within Ajax and DOM manipulation, there can be many people who are comfortable with basic manipulation, and then you get into more advanced manipulation and client-side programming, and it might shoot through the roof. So this is what I mean. Details. And when you're in your profession, you'll be able to see these things a lot more clearly. And when you gain confidence, you'll start to see these things more clearly. When you get more experience, you'll see that working at Upwork, you will see these things more clearly, because you'll go, oh, okay. Right now you may be hungry, right? I get it. If you're hungry and you want to go through these experiences and learn on your own, please do. I know what it's like to be at that point. But take some of this advice, please. Okay, so let's get into this. So we've gone through, I think those questions are unreasonable, but I want to find out if this person actually hires Americans, because 11:23 tells me a lot, right? That's not squat. I mean, that is really, and this person spent over $50,000. Right? I mean, it's amazing to me. It's just amazing to me, right? And so Upwork gets 10% of that, $5,000, and then the first, whatever it was, $200 off the first, whatever. So we won't do the math, but Upwork's clearly made some money on this person. They're gonna stand by that person too. So here we found, at least the positive side is this person does seem to leave reviews, and pretty much 5 stars across the board. That's great. But what is the next rule that I've said, and the primary reason I came down here to look? And look, I can tell you that the person doesn't hire Americans. Period. Okay, Maria Hassan, whatever. That's not an American last name. This is clearly not an American. 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 This is, etc. Sorry, I keep repeating myself, but I just really want to bring the point home that this person is a waste of time. A complete waste of time. He is not, in all probability, is not going to hire me. Look at this. Got 1,200 something hours out of this person. Application reskin and functional changes using Medtronic. I don't even know what Medtronic is. But 1,200 hours at $12 an hour? I mean, this is where they spent all their money, right? The 50 grand. They spend it on this, but they spend it on people who make $12 an hour. Okay? Doing probably technical work that an American does for 65 or more. Okay, so let's just grab here. We'll see. Yeah, it's an Armenian. Yep, Ukraine. Yep, Armenia. So the person's got an Armenian slant, maybe. India, Ukraine again, Armenia, another Armenian, and Romanian. Are we seeing a trend? Okay, so even if you got through all of this and you realize that the person is just hires on these generalities and everything else, which I never would have gone to this one anyways, I'd mentioned, but we have these other really easy to read types of things, like, does this person hire an American? Now, I'm just assuming that the people who are going to watch this video are Americans. I don't know why. Maybe that's wrong of me. But if you're living in America, then definitely you are not going to get hired by this person. I can just tell you, don't waste your time. Don't waste your connects. Okay? So we can kind of see that that's the process. Let's go ahead and take another one, and we will close it out, and hopefully you will get those things. Please feel free to ask me any questions, though. I don't mind helping. And again, you can break these things out in how to approach the client next. I use general scripts to do that I have pre-made, but I always give detail. How it is you interact with the client when you get the project, setting expectations. There are so many different things that we can talk about that are in principle the same thing. See, as a web developer, I see, and again, IT people see information processing. You have this layer of abstraction where you're not getting caught in the details, although you do need to get into the details. There's a balance between the tree and the forest, right? So you've got the parts and the whole, and it all comes together. So there's this layer of abstraction that kind of hovers over and sees things moving, but simultaneously can get into the details. And it's a hard balance to reach, I don't think we really teach those forms of consciousness within our community and our society today, consciously teach these types of things. But that level of abstraction will help, and we can abstract the principles from these various things. And once we see the principles, we can continue to learn those principles and apply them generally across multiple areas, in fact, life itself. So we could make videos and break it down into to all the different principles that you see, all the way until you close out with these people, in order to see that maybe someday that they will come back and just email you personally or give you a call on the phone and get off of Upwork. When you get to that point, you'll see that you only have to go to Upwork. Like maybe never. I never want to have one client support me. That would be just like going back to the office, and I don't want to do that. So I like to spread my eggs out into different, have these baskets, so to speak. So I don't ever rely on one person. They can try to leverage me because the nature of people today, they will try to leverage you. It's annoying. And I won't get into the philosophy of, how our modern economic system is no longer what it should have been or what it was expected to be back in the days of its founding, where economics was defined. It was supposed to be where it was an equitable exchange of goods and services, perceived as equitable trade between parties. Well, it's not anymore. It's surely not. The people with the money think that they can push around the people who are trying to make the money. And of course, that's why, it gets me into other things that sound like conspiracy theories, why I think they don't ever want 100% employment, full employment. I think corporations want unemployment high because they can hire cheaper labor. So it's amazing, though, when these are total digressions and not, outside the scope of this clearly, but they all play in. So if you can take these principles and you can apply them, all the better. I think that's wonderful. Let's go ahead and try one more. We'll take a look at those principles and then eliminate or move forward with someone. More often than not, I'll already tell you, we're not going to find one today that looks perfect and great, and we'll move forward. I can go through literally if I have a day where I have off and I'm looking for work or a new client, really. I can literally go through hundreds of these things, but I do it very quickly. And let me go ahead and do that in a sense. PHP Fox don't do seeking experience. Plot don't do that. Experienced plot creators. I need a full stack developer, an e-commerce site. I'm doing more and more e-commerce lately. This is an hourly project. I really don't care for hourly projects. If the person knows what they want, it should be fixed. Now, I might be able to turn them, but I'm not in the mood right now to do so, and I typically will not be in the mood to turn a person, especially people that I find that are interested in e-commerce. On the whole, I don't know. That's kind of a personal philosophical thing, but I won't get into that right now. So Sweet CMR, don't get into that. Full stack programmer part time. Which stack would be good to know, right? We are looking at creative problem solver. They can help simple website updates, coding HTML and CSS from scratch, implementing content management systems and coding plugins. So it's a general job description. This is a job description. It's a part-time job description, okay? If you're looking at doing that, and I do have one agency, and I have a couple clients that come back more than others, but they have one agency who's hopeful that they're going to continue to grow and bring more work my way, and that's great if you can find something like that. It's slow going though for them, is what I find, at least for the web development that they're handing over. Good folks though, and that's to me what makes all the difference in the world. Is I don't work with jerks. I don't work with assholes. I'm too old and my life's too short, and I'd rather make less money and deal with good people than make a lot of money and deal with assholes. Because I've been in both situations, and I can tell you the quality of my life is so much better when I don't have to deal with schmucks. So, WordPress website design. I'm not a designer. I'm a developer. They may not know that. The distinction between the two. People often in this industry screw that one up. Even people who have been in the industry for years, which is completely ridiculous. It's like any other industry. You have design, and then you have development. You have an architect, then you have the builder who actually builds the homes or bridges or whatever they are. There are two very distinct jobs. A front-end designer is someone who does Photoshop. They are not a UI designer. It's ridiculous. To have terms that overlaps like that, and then there's this confusion as to what a designer and a developer actually is. Let them rationalize that any way they want to. Again, principles looking generally at all the different industries, that should be pretty obvious. So I don't do design work. This person may not know that. They may be actually needing a developer, so sometimes you got to be careful with that. If you're a web developer, you might want to look into that. Development background, develop and backup a recovery application product. Nope. I need help with the layout, front page. Nope. Design. Nope. I need a PH. Nope. I'm not a Stripe API developer. I can typically my mind can do these faster than I can talk. Web design, Ajax. Nope. Python. Nope. Stand up. Nope. Need help? Nope. We might do need help here. Let's go ahead and take a peek at this one. I need help customizing one widget on a no. It's getting to these specifics. See, these folks, they get themselves in. Oftentimes, you find this in my professions. People get themselves into a jam because they've bought a bunch of plugins, then they don't know how to use them, or they find out they don't work the way they want to, and then they want you to work within that scope. And that's unrealistic, oftentimes. And then who's going to give them? You don't want to be the guy who delivers bad news. I promise you that, because then they take it personally. They want to shoot the messenger. Laravel PHP, nope. WooCommerce create license key management, nope. Link builders, of course not. I say that another discussion. Need debug, no. Highly skilled open cart, nope. Don't do any programmer marina. Now somehow these are most of these. Actually, these are my PHP projects. I apologize. There are 91 of them in these feeds. I just want to kind of stick to WordPress here. So let's go ahead and we don't want that one either. Let's do WordPress, all fixed dollars. Let's do these fixed dollars ones or fixed dollared ones. Anyway, RSS Pro needs to be no online form, database lookup, Zoho. No, don't want to do it. Don't want to deal with the Zoho API. Where WordPress developer to create a website using existing design. Here you go. So like this has an existing API, and look at that, they're attached. Isn't that nice? Okay, this is what I'm already going to run from though. Is they probably if you're going to spend this kind of money on Upwork, then you want a team to do it. If you're going to spend $100,000, that's just an unrealistic number. Budget to be discussed. I don't know. Maybe that's why they put the $100,000 there. Let's go ahead and take a closer look though. Functional specs, but that's it, right? So I look. Are there details? I don't even need to look at it like super detailed. I'm not even going to look at that right now. I'm just going to say how detailed is it and what's the fixed amount. And then I'll look to see if those details match the fixed amount. Because right now, here's what I'll show you, right? $200, $500. Oh, so these are all, I bet you these are fixed non-entry over a certain amount. I can't see those right now, and I had to reprogram this interface. Here's $70. So this may be over $50 or something, but oftentimes you'll just run into something, $300, gravity forms. There you go. Something like this, right? I don't have time for this. I'm not going to read this. Even if it had the nice amount of kind of quality or whatever, you get down to $10, forget about it. Not going to happen. I mean, because Upwork's going to take 20% of this anyway, that's going to be an $8 job. Unless it takes me by the time I communicate with the people, I've already spent more than $8 worth of time to get the project. Okay, so let's go ahead and anyway, we're going to go design a car dealership website, build website, Fast Pro. I don't know what that means, and Pro, supply a premium. Okay, So I always get a kick out of these two. Is they supply a premium website theme, and this is, of course, in my industry, and they expect you to somehow put it all together for 90. They spent $90 on a theme that they don't know how to use, and they're going to want you to build out the rest. And it's they're going to tell you exactly how many hours it should take you, but they can't do it themselves. But they're going to expect you to, and oftentimes, and I don't expect them to be able to do it all themselves, but I can already tell you this person's a jerk. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a peek at this one, because I think this would be a great example of what not to. Of course, we're going to try to find one that was good for you, but let's go ahead and jump into this one. So build a WP website fast and pro. I'm sure that's saying professionally. By the way, be careful if you're one of those people that says something about you need to be professional. I need a professional. Let me tell you, I have seen so many times over the years, people call me professional and people call me unprofessional. And what I'll tell you is, I am who I am, and if you're an ass, I'm not going to put up with you. But don't call me if I say something to you and I've been called unprofessional. Okay, the irony of that is, what kind of professional person tells another person that they're being unprofessional? It's what you often find is someone who's laying the accusation is projecting, and simultaneously in this instance, they're actually doing what they're saying that you are. They're saying, "Oh, you're being unprofessional." You just were unprofessional by calling me unprofessional. From my standpoint, from a reasonable standpoint, which I think, of course, mine's reasonable, and this one, theirs is not, but we could argue the point. Look, you don't need to tell someone they're unprofessional, because what are you going to accomplish by that? That's completely unreasonable. You don't need to tell people they're unprofessional. If you tell them they're unprofessional, you're being unprofessional. It's ridiculous. And it's one of those glamour words, right? It's filled with illusion. It's glamour. It's glamorous crap, and it's subjective. I mean, what one person considers professional, another person may not. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. So I stay away from people who use these glamour words. Excellent, perfect, pixel perfect, ridiculous. I need a pixel perfect. Pixel perfect website, but it's responsive. So there's no way you could have pixel perfect. I mean, it's insane to say that. Insane by being it's completely irrational, because the website changes whenever the widths change. Therefore, the pixels are changing. How can that be pixel perfect if it's not fixed? It's pixel perfect all the time whenever it's all constantly fluid and moving and being responsive. I mean, it's the most ridiculous. And professionals in this industry argue that. It's crazy world, isn't it? All right, so we got this. Boom. You already see it. You saw it the whole time. You're like, Joe, check it out. Run from this dude. He's a cheap bastard, right? Didn't I say that? We all know already. And I don't care if they got a 4.9 reviews. They're in Jamaica. Boom. 55% higher rate sucks. What is it? Here it is. There's the key right there. Okay. No. Bunch of questions, right? What do you think about this project? What is the strongest thing for your project? You haven't given me any detail, and the devil's in the detail, especially in this industry. Boom, not American, not American, not American, not American, not American. Okay, there you go. Cheap bastard. Cheap bastard. That's what I'll say. And, I don't mind saying it. You call it for what it is. This person's cheap. They want cheap labor. That's what they want. That's why a lot of these people on Upwork don't go with them. Boom, get out of here. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop there, but I think that you can primarily see that. So in review, you take the information, you look for the detail, you look for definable scope, because people will try to take advantage of you by having these open-ended things that just go on and on and on, especially with fixed projects versus hourly. But I caution you in regard to hourly, because at some point their expectations may not be realistic, and they're going to be upset when they have to pay more hours and pay more hours and pay more hours, because they're constantly changing their minds and doing things. Set expectations, reach those definable goal, those expectations that you can reach. Set those expectations with your client. I cannot stress that enough. So if they're not going to give you detail, you want to stay away from them. That's what I do, and I've made the mistake a long time back. And anytime I ever tried to question these principles and I went against them, I found out the hard way. You stick with your principles. You may not find a project for a couple days. Fine. When you land the ones that you land, your quality of life will be so much better. and it goes toward objectively not just the quality of your life, but they'll give you good reviews, and you'll be better off. So make sure they're definable goals, and the scope is set, expectations are set, or these people are capable of doing that. They're not open-ended. Make sure that the budget, if there is a fixed amount, matches the type of work that's done, or vice versa, right? If it's an hourly rate and they're looking for something cheap. But we get to that one later. You won't see, at least in this, we don't see hourly rates on this one, of course, because they don't set the hourly rate that they're looking for. They just say hourly in general. So once you're here, if you can see kind of the details, the language that they use, let's say this, it syncs with how you use language. You're going to be better off with people that are similar to you, unless you're an asshole, and then two assholes may not get along. But try to get this and try to get a good feel for the people. And you can always do that through further conversation, which I recommend you do anyway. And then you can always eliminate them and not take the project. And I've had people say, "You wasted my time," and I thought, well, you kind of wasted my time too. This is a person who is of course I walked away. They proved that by saying you wasted my time. They didn't say, "Hey, sorry, I wasted your time." Right? So they don't have mutual respect. We both spent the same amount of time doing this. Your time is so much more valuable than mine. Come on. They're not the kind of people, so forget about it. If you walk away, you walk away. You'll get better and better at it, and you'll be happier in the long run. I promise you. You'll get good reviews, and people will hire you, and you'll just be way better off. So here we go. If we go from here, we take a look at a website. The major things to look at that we've already seen, we saw the job description in our RSS feed. We want to see, maybe sometimes there are attachments here that I didn't see in my RSS feed, but we want to, of course, see, we want to look at the client reviews. Like I said, most of the time, I actually don't even care about those. I mean, really don't. I really don't, because this person has, a stellar 4.9. Yeah, but they're all from people from India. And so my primary thing within a heartbeat, I almost always go to this first. I really do. From there, and I've confirmed over and over countless times. Oh, here you go. By the way, at least 100 hours. I don't do hours. I don't do the hours. And sometimes that shouldn't hold you back. By the way, it'll still allow you to submit a project. But then you go down here, and boom, what do you see? They don't hire Americans. So almost a flip of a coin hire rate, and then almost all the time he hires non-Americans. I would say those are your biggest factors on this particular platform to watch out for and to just eliminate. I mean, you can quickly weed your way through these things. I can go through hundreds of job postings a day by going through these things. I can see by the title if it's the type of work I want to do. I can see within a few sentences or the language that this person uses that I would get along with them or not. Recently, doesn't know how to capitalize a sentence, doesn't care enough to do it. Uses words like needs. I've tried to set up these forms, private site many times. So this person's tried it many, many times on their own. They've had problems with it. You might want to help them out. It depends, but if the right person, it should take 30 minutes. But yet I've tried it over and over and over again. I can't get it done. I'm offering $25. The contact form 7 setup. I could do this in a heartbeat, by the way. A contact form 7 is very easy to set up. But you want to go. I just want to go through here, and then of course there's just apparently not enough. No, there. Okay, so there you go. Richard Martinez. That might be an American. Dania. That one's not. This one's probably not. This one's probably not. Let's check the Murray Rose though. I'm just kind of wondering, and let's check the Martinez. But it doesn't matter because I already can tell you this person's kind of, I get kind of the feeling right off the bat. For some reason for me, if someone can't capitalize a sentence, they're not real smart people. And maybe that's why it's, and I know that sounds horrible, isn't it? The Philippines. But this person can't set up that simple contact form, Sri Lanka. But they expect you to do it in 30 minutes. For the right person, I'm not the right person. They couldn't be humble about it. They almost seemed like they were frustrated in their language. At least that's kind of how I felt. I was always talking to you at 100 miles an hour. And Philippines. So none of those people were Americans. Right there. There you go. Real easy. So there you go. I hope that, I know I ramble a lot. I know I say a lot. I know I talk fast, but I hope that you can take some things from that. I really do. I hope that you set up your feeds. You gain confidence over time. Take some things in the beginning that you wouldn't really want to, but you realize that person's going to leave you a great review because they've done it so many times in their history. Take that lower job amount maybe. And get good reviews, because the more you build your reviews that are good and people say good things about you, and you've got a 100% success rate. If you don't have a 100% success rate, but you've got a high 95 plus success rate, that's going to help you. So that's all about the clients, though. It really is. I mean, you look, projects have problems and difficulties at times, and having the right person with the right temperament and these people in a good working relationship with your clients, to me, is so much more important oftentimes than the work itself, because it really does set the pace for how it's going to turn out for you and the review process, everything, so many other factors. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I hope everyone's doing well, and I will talk with you later.